There's a little bit of an argument about it. There was the first thought was that because they brought so much of their foodstuffs down from the north and ate out of the cans, but then they kind of took it as a sense of pride and adopted the name. There is a lot of wrangling at different times about getting something that sounded a little more sophisticated, and they ended up where they would take a soup can or bean can and kind of mount it somehow to the old radiator caps, and then it became kind of a symbol that if you were, and breakdowns were so common that if you were breakdown out on the road and somebody coming by saw the can and said, "This is a fellow canner," they stopped to assist and help. But that part of it is still a little bit of a question how the name itself, stuck with them. But they became a very formal organization with a secret sign, a secret password, a song. At first, anybody could induct anybody into Tin Can Tourists. They could be around the campfire, and if they thought this person was of the moral quality, because they were formed to kind of knock the notion down that all they were a bunch of unemployed people just hanging out, because they came from all walks of life, particularly farmers that had the opportunity, if they closed their farm down in the Midwest during the winter months or had the hired hand that looked after the cows or whatever, they could vacation in Florida. So that was, I would say farmers were probably the core group, and then you had everything else. And there's always the idea that people left their status behind them when they got in a trailer and sat around the campfire. And it's like here too, you get to meet a lot of people and know a lot of people, but you really don't get into that much about what did you do, career-wise or anything. It's more about the rig that they've got, or something that they found, or some thing that they're doing now involved with the trailer. You don't know that they were a stockbroker or whatever they went along with it.
So we've been doing this since 1995. We saw the Airstream Globetrotter. It's a 62 in a field coming back from camping in the Rockies, and my wife, whose relatives lived in this small farm town, saw that, and we left the next day, but she told me about it, and I said, well, you're going back for a wedding in December, find out who owns it and offer him $1,000 for it. And so she did, and he wouldn't take it. So I called and I said, what's going on? The thing hasn't been out of the field for at least 10 years. The tires are gone, weeds are grown. And his wife, I could hear her in the background, and she says, you got to sell it, Henry. You just had a triple bypass and you're never going to tow again. Besides, there's another Airstream right next to it that you're never going to tow either. So we settled on a deal for $1,000, and I sent him a cashier's check, and then I didn't either get the keys or the title in the mail, so I called him again, and he says, there's still propane in those tanks. I said, well, there's something in those tanks, but it can't be propane anymore. So we finally consummated the deal.
Family's history with the Tin Can Tourists.
Okay, we were charter members of the Vintage Airstream Club, which was founded by Bud Cooper. He brought up the Tin Can Tourists as a club and organization way back that began in 1919. And for some reason, that whole thing kind of just stuck in my mind with the idea of the Tin Can Tourists. It was just the idea of having a rally where it didn't matter what you had, whether it was a trailer or a motor coach, you could come. And the area in the back up there, which is called K-Row, we had 21 trailers come to the first rally in 1998. And then we moved down into this area and ended up 40 or so for a few years, 40, 50 for a few years. And this year, We have a little under 200. We had a few cancellations, health reasons, and so forth at the end. At one point, we had over 200, and I think maybe 197, something like that, for this rally. And our growth has been really steady. We've never had a year from 1998. That was the first year that anybody that joined in '98 was a charter member, and we had 50 in 1998. And we haven't had any year since then where the membership is retracted at all. It's we're over internationally, even with a few people from England and from France. We probably, I think the last count was about 2,300 overall members. I think there is there's a segment of our group that probably traveled with Mom and Dad or traveled with Grandpa and Grandpa, and there's a lot of great memories with that. There's another segment of people that are just into the nostalgia part of it. There's groups of ladies that they call themselves, refer to themselves as glampers, which brings in a whole different design elements and things like that. For me originally, because of the Airstream group, it gave me an opportunity to travel.
And it's just an enjoyable way of living. I can't imagine just sitting at home. As a matter of fact, I've got hitchy itch, which means that if I'm home for more than 2 weekends, I gotta go. I just gotta get out.